I about to say the 28th, July 18th, 2025. First things first, let me know y'all thoughts on today's new episode down below. What did y'all think? Did y'all like it? Look, I say everybody just keep making a fool out of Bill. He gonna turn dark again. First Luna, now Dr. Buckingham. But Grace ends up, just to give y'all a quick summary before we dive into the review, Grace ends up texting Bill at the end of the episode saying that the scans were clean and the tumor gone. And I said, yeah, because the scans was already clean. I said, the scans was already clean. But I said, I repeat, Bill, you've been bamboozled, lied to, hoodwinked, fooled, and made a fool of. And look like Finn is starting to figure things out, y'all. Based on his face at the end of the episode, I said Finn's starting to figure it out. Hold on, y'all. I said Finn gonna be the one. He was looking at, I think she sent the scans to be a phone, and Finn was looking at it. He was saying how it was a miracle and stuff, but then he started looking. I said, look more. I said, look some more. Take some more time and look at it. You're gonna see nothing has changed. They both look identical. They both look identical. If you don't work on somebody or something like that, then they don't supposed to look identical. They don't supposed to look identical. But yeah, I was like, she done sit up here and made a fool out of him. I want to know why, though. I'm assuming next week we're going to find out. But yeah, Hope, Steph, and Finn had questions, but Bill did not have the answers to those questions. He didn't even remember who the doctor was. And I was saying, I said I wanted so badly for somebody to go over there and unwrap his head. I wanted to see if she still had that same scar right there. But yeah, and aside from that, the nurse lady, she didn't want them in the room. I know they have those protocols when they in the regular hospital and stuff like that, but they ain't in the regular hospital. She didn't want them there. She was saying, he need his rest and all that. Then next thing you know, she talking about she gotta go make some phone calls. I said, yeah, the Grace. I said, yeah, the Grace. And with Taylor Ridge and Brooke, they talking about the same thing about how they gonna unite for the girls' sake. But that was just a quick summary. Let's talk about it. What did y'all think of the episode? Let me know down below. But yeah, the nurses are telling Bill at the beginning of the episode that Leon's doing well, all things considered. And Bill was just saying, expressing his gratitude, saying how he's grateful for Dr. Buckingham, how she helped, and his main focus is his son or whatever. Then I think he got a notification on his phone, let him know that Liam had visitors, because that's what he said. He's like, look like Liam about to have visitors. Hold on. And look, I was like, dog, if we want an episode behind, because I sure wanted to see Grace and if she gets back on the phone with somebody. Do y'all think that's her husband or ex-husband? Because I think she said they divorced. The other dude that stole the baby, or somebody else. I don't know. Either way it go, I said, I said, look, everybody finna get locked up. All the Dr. Buckinghams finna get locked up. But yeah, she crooked. I said, these scans, because Bill said on today's episode, he said she sent the original one and she sent the other one. And Finn was saying how it's a miracle and stuff like that. I said they probably gonna look identical. I said either way it go, Finn's gonna be the one to discover it more than likely. But yeah, Finn ends up asking Bill. They got there, they wanted to see him or whatever. Finn had questions. He wanted to know why Bill didn't consult with him, and he ends up telling him, he's not your patient and stuff like that. And I had to handle, and he just kept saying how Dr. Buckingham, reassured him this and reassured him that. And I said she lied. Buddy. I said that's clear as day. We don't know what about. How do I say this? Hold on. I said we don't know the specifics. We don't know the specifics, but we know she lied. Either way it go. Yeah, I was like, Bill. And he just kept trying to tell him something's off. Hope had questions, Steffi had questions or whatever. And he was like, all he know is that, his son, he had to do what was best for his son and stuff. And I said, Bill, you ain't thinking. I said, once you think about it, because Finn also brought up how he was shocked that Grace didn't allow him to stay where he was at so he could recover. And I said, exactly. It's too many things, too many red flags now. But yeah, they all come to see Liam, and that's when they just kept asking him questions about this procedure. Why didn't he tell them? Just got questions about it because it seems shady. It is. It definitely is. And I think that nurse know about it too. I think she know too. I'm assuming Monday we're going to find out. Electra Will was talking about Liam and Luna, about how Electra just kept saying how she can't believe what Luna did. And I was like, if I hear them say that one more doggone time, how can you be shocked? She done murdered 2 people. She had already murdered 2 people. Then they told me so she wasn't gonna do nothing. She was definitely gonna take Steffi out. What you mean? You thought it was a game? What you talking about? I see somebody say how she wasn't gonna do nothing. She just wanted her to listen. Shoot, she was gonna how I said, sure, my name Jessica, she was gonna take her out. But for real, hold on. That's like everybody just kept trying to save Steffi. That's what happened. But yeah, Taylor ends up saying how she wanted Luna to, she didn't want her to die. She wanted her to get psychiatric help or whatever behind bars. I said, true that. I already knew that. The episode when they was in the same place at Force of Creation talking, and she was saying how, it's about her childhood and everything she faced. I said she want her to go to the crazy place. Not to the crazy place, but, get a therapist or something. That's a crazy place. One or the other. Hold on. Katie, oh, shoot, I had a sharp pain. Katie ends up coming in when Will and the lecturer was talking about Liam, and she was saying how Liam is still facing a death sentence and stuff like that. The whole episode was basically to summarize everything about Liam, about him dying allegedly and stuff like that. But he ain't about to die. He probably was never gonna die. That's what it looked like. But yeah, Taylor, Ridge, and Brooke talk about Liam dying and how they need to support their girls, Hope and Steffi, as well as their grandkids. Finn ends up saying that Liam numbers are already doing good because he was checking and stuff. And I said, exactly. I said, Liam, not Liam. Finn, use your brain. Use your doctor brain. Something ain't adding up. And by the end of the episode, they show his face. I said, yep, he gonna be the one to figure things out because this is not, it ain't what it looked like. But, what else? Even Hope, what did she say? I forgot what she asked Bill. And then she was like, it seems kind of strange. I said, exactly. But Bill just kept saying, like, I know y'all have questions and stuff like this, and told Finn that Leon wasn't his patient because he wanted to know why she didn't consult him. I said, cuz she didn't want you over here being goody two shoes and snitching on her and messing up her money or whoever money that is. I was assuming that she was being blackmailed or something, but she could just be crooked. I mean, either way you go, you crooked, but still. That's what I was assuming. She owes somebody some money, or either she just in cahoots with somebody. Either way, we gonna find out next week, I'm assuming. Bill ends up telling them none of that matters. He just focused on saving his son, so that's what he did. And I think by that time, that's when he ends up getting a text message. Let me see. Yeah, that's when she gonna text him, talking about some doggone, his scans are clean and the tumor's gone. I said, like, all right, pants on fire. I wrote Taylor, Steph, and Brooke. I mean Taylor, Ridge, and Brooke. They was talking about how they need to unite. I told y'all what I tell y'all, what I always say. Every doggone year they want to sit up here talking about they want a big happy family and all this other stuff, and they got to join together, and then next week they'll be back beefing. They'll be back arguing over the same man. And Taylor was standing up there looking at Ridge, looking at Brooke. And I said, Taylor, what's your gut saying, sweetheart? What is your gut saying? Because I know it's eating you up right now. He just can't take his eyes off that girl. I said, Taylor, you saw that? I said, we saw that. You ain't see that? And she was looking, and I was like, yeah, exactly. But they saying that Brooke's supposed to fall in the water and Ridge supposed to save her, and that's how they going to end up getting back together. Now, y'all know sometimes they just be throwing stuff out there. I don't know if it's true or not. We'll see. Was that everything? Let me see. I already said how Taylor was asking if they should postpone the Italy trip, and Ridge was saying how they still have a life to live and, business to handle, so they'll just wait to see Leon's progress and if they actually need to stay. Will was crying, saying he not ready to lose his big brother. And I think that was everything, y'all. They didn't give us no sneak peek about next week yet. Excuse me. They still didn't give us a sneak peek. But that's it. That's all. Let me know your thoughts on this episode down below. Stay tuned for the next review. Until next time, deuces. Have a great rest of the day, a great weekend, and be safe.